Thomas and Friends, The Branchline Chronicles, the movie. Part 1. The Race and the Accident. Thomas and Hero were sitting at Elsbridge Station, and Thomas was right beside Hero as he steamed in, but he was asking Hero for a race. Hero said, "A race, Thomas? You know I would win. Even though you are small, I am bigger." Well, said Thomas. "That may be true, but let's go." Thomas made it all the way up Gordon's Hill and went down the other side. Hero had trouble getting up because his wheels were newer. So that's when Hero came down the hill and had an accident. Since Hero just had an accident, that wasn't good. A very bad accident for things to happen. Very unfortunate. So that's when Hero was waiting for an engine to come and help him. But on the other side of the island, Thomas was at Knapford waiting for Hero. Since he was waiting for Hero, it was very, very boring that he had to wait for him. So that turned out that it was going to be harder to, wait for Gordon. So that's Thomas just waited there and waited there and waited there and waited there and waited there. So boring. Gordon finally arrived, but then that's when Edward had steamed into the yards to pull his coaches. Then he steamed off. Edward was on his journey along the line, and he was on his way up Gordon's Hill. As he was almost up Gordon's Hill, as he steamed up Gordon's Hill, the train started to come uncoupled. That wasn't a good thing. And the cart slid down the hill. So that's when Edward decided that he was going to need to back up on his way back to get the coaches. So I guess Edward was getting ready to puff back down onto his coach. inches, and he was getting ready to pull his train again, back to the yards. That's when Edward backed down onto the train. The driver needed to couple them back together, and they were on their way. And it steamed up slowly up Gordon's Hill. He was about to head down when he saw Hero. He had noticed Hero had been derailed. When Edward had steamed down the hill, like I said, he noticed Hero. Hero was sitting there. Edward was steaming down the hill. Edward said, "Hero, what happened?" "Oh, I came off the line coming down the hill." "Wow. That's an original." "I guess so, Edward." Could you mind helping me?" Yes, and Edward steamed along Thomas's branch line / the windmill area. He steamed along. Duck told him to stop. Duck said, "Stop, Edward. You must not go any further. There's this huge engine on the line." And he said, "Oh, sure." But he backed away anyways to be careful. That's when Duck said, "Edward, I'm coming back. Just give me a minute." But still, while Edward waited for Duck to back up, Duck had finally reversed. And that's when Duck said to Edward, "Edward, you must always stay away from engines like her. She can always do the madness." "But how?" said Edward. Edward was still waiting for Duck to back up for the second time. But when Duck backed up, he was talking to Edward. Said, "Like I said, she can drive anyone to madness, because she's one screeching engine." "What do you mean," said Edward, "by screeching engine?" "Edward, I mean by screeching engine, evil engine." "Oh." "Oh," said Edward. "Yes," said Duck. "But honestly, do you honestly believe what I am saying?" "I guess I do." "Okay, that's good. So, the windmill was starting to slowly turn. Edward steamed off. So that's when he steamed around the bend. Thomas said, "Maybe it is." Thomas. Little engines always know things are going to happen. In the background, that's when Edward needed to start shunting his coaches into the yards. Since he was shunting his coaches into the yards, he had to wait a little bit before the shunter shunted points, and he was able to. There we go. And then he shunted his coaches into the yard. He was getting ready to get the breakdown crane. That's when Edward was uncoupled, and he was getting ready to steam off. "Gordon, give me," said Thomas to Gordon. "Me and my ways. What do you mean, me and my ways?" "Oh, Thomas, you know. Oh, little Thomas, you know what I mean." "No, I don't," said Thomas. "Oh, sure you do," said Gordon. Edward steamed out of the yard real quick and peeped away and said, "Don't fight," as he steamed along. He was getting ready to get the breakdown crane. Well, that's when Thomas and Gordon kept arguing and fighting, and it got annoying after a while. As Edward arrived at the wreck of Hero, he had two things on his mind: getting Hero back onto the rails and helping and getting Hero back to the Nafford station. And then the crane started to lift Hero. Bum 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 bum. Hero was finally back on the rails, thanks to Edward. He said, "Thank you, Edward, for getting me back on the rails." You're welcome, Hero. No doubt about it. Well, Edward, I gotta go now. See you later, Edward. Alright, Hero. I'll see you later. Edward steamed on to Nafford Station. Well, stopped right there in the middle of the yards to wait for the signal to go green. That's when Hero was on his way